Derby County transfer target Lewis Travis has told Blackburn Rovers that he does want to leave and he wants to join Derby County. That is coming out from Blackburn Rovers' press team themselves, which has come directly from that of Valerian Ismail. Now, this comes after a £1.5 million bid was rejected from Derby County that they put in for the Blackburn Rovers captain, and the 27-year-old central midfielder looks as if he's forcing his way to Derby County, but how much is this going to cost? Now, obviously, Lewis Travis is a very, very good championship player. He's played over 200 games at the level and has come through Blackburn Rovers for the majority of his career, despite spells at Liverpool and Ipswich Town. But John Eustace wants his man, and his man is Lewis Travis, and it looks as if that deal is edging closer to happening over the course of the next week or so. Now, obviously, for Derby County, it's important they get this deal done so that they can look at other targets like Max Johnston, as well as players potentially in those wide areas. Now, you can obviously let me know your thoughts down in the comments if you have not done so already. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell. But let's take a full look into Lewis Travis and why he would be a big improvement for Derby County. Now, for me, Lewis Travis is a very, very good central midfielder, a very, very good championship player. At 27 years old, he is the captain of Blackburn Rovers, aged at 27. He stands at 1.83 metres tall and is mainly known for his defensive capabilities in that Blackburn Rovers team. He is worth around €3.5 million as per that of Transfer Market, but his contract does expire in just under 12 months' time when his deal at Blackburn Rovers finally comes to an end. Now, he did start at the weekend, played about 80 minutes before he was taken off, and then last night he was involved but didn't get on the field for Blackburn Rovers as they lost, I think it was to Bradford City. Now, it's really interesting to look at this potential move for Derby County because I think it's a smart one. I think it's one which makes a hell of a lot of sense because for me, Derby County need a player like Lewis Travis who can disrupt and dictate. Now, I'm not turning around and saying that he's the best technical player in the league, but he has that ability to win the ball back, to disrupt the opposition, and then to get the ball moving. And don't get me wrong, I know he's not necessarily your technical playmaker, but he's a player that can have an impact, and that's the important thing for Derby because that's what we don't have in that holding midfield position. We've got players like Ebou Adams who can disrupt but can't distribute. We've got players like Kenzo Heldmine who can distribute but can't disrupt, and players like Liam Thompson who just do a lot of energy and not a lot of nothing comes from it, in complete honesty. And then obviously we've got David Ozo who does a little bit of everything, but it will be interesting to see how the midfield line will develop across the course of this upcoming week or so. Now, if we do take a look at Lewis Travis's deeper details, here's a player who is very, very versatile, mainly obviously a midfielder within a double pivot, but can play a little bit higher as well in that number 8 role. He's also played number 10 just once in his career, so it's not something that I'd anticipate him doing long term. He's also made a couple of appearances in the wing-back positions as well as the full-back positions, as well as playing 27 times at right-back. He's also made 4 appearances at centre-back, so he's very, very versatile. It sort of really opens the door for him to come into Derby County and master away into this squad. Now, there is a lot of talk going around at Derby County with the injury of Corey Blackett-Taylor that Derby County may be sort of moving into a 3-5-2 formation, which would obviously be very, very interesting to keep an eye on because obviously for Derby, if they do move into that 3-5-2, we don't necessarily need an extra body in midfield, but you obviously then have sort of those wing-back positions that need filling. You then have a number 10, 2 sitters again, or maybe even 1 sitter and 2 number 10s. But we'll obviously wait and see how that sort of addresses itself as we head into the game at the weekend versus Coventry City. Now, for me, Lewis Travis telling Blackburn Rovers he wants to leave speaks volumes for me. And there was a picture posted of him last night. Not entirely sure how true it is that he was at the train station coming to Derby, but I'm not entirely sure how true that is, so don't quote me on that one. But for me, it is very, very interesting to see that the likes of Andy Weimann, the likes of Danny Bart, Tyrese Dolan's now left Blackburn as well. You've got so many players who have moved on this summer from Blackburn Rovers, and I think it just speaks volumes of where Blackburn are going as a football club. And I think in that same respect, I think Derby County, obviously I'm going to be a little bit biased as a Derby County fan, but I think we're a team on the up, and I think once we get everyone fit and available, I do think we're going to finish in the top half of the division. Obviously, like, it's going to take time for things to settle. I think we're quite lucky that a lot of the players are going to be fit within that first international break, so John Eustace can get a full sort of rundown with them and get them all fit, available and ready to go, and knowing exactly what the tactical structure is, because I think that's going to be massively important. We already know that Rhian Bruce is in training already, just not ready. Bobby Clark, although looked absolutely knackered after 10 minutes last night, did show glimpses, and obviously with confidence and with playing time, he will find his feet again. And it's one of those for me. Even Joe Ward looked decent last night, which is obviously great for Derby County moving forward, because a player like him that can whip the ball in is an unbelievable asset to have, especially when you've got a striker like Carlton Morris. You've got Lars Jørgen Salverson coming back from injury. Patrick Adjumang is a tall player as well. So if you can create those opportunities, it's really, really good. Now, I'm not saying that Joe Ward is going to go on to be a starter, but he has a skill set that Derby County don't currently have in the squad, and I think that's really, really important moving forward. And hopefully, as we sort of progress into the next phase of this championship season, which obviously we're only 2 games into the season so far, 1 in the championship, 1 in the cup. As we progress, we're going to see those players get into the starting 11 and things like that. And it is going to be interesting to see if Joe Ward stays at Derby County or ends up moving on by the end of this transfer window. But it's a massive, massive move for Derby. And how much is Lewis Travis going to cost in order to bring him to the club? I probably think it's going to be within the region of around £3 million. Not entirely sure what his wage situation is like at Blackburn Rovers, but there was a tweet put out yesterday from the same journalist that broke that Lewis Travis is asked to leave, saying that Derby County have put double on the table for Lewis Travis. And I think for me, if Derby County are putting double what Blackburn Rovers are putting on the table, then Blackburn Rovers must be absolutely broke, because Derby County aren't in a position where we're going to be offering huge sums of money. I'm not saying that we can't offer 25 grand a week. I'm not saying that, because ultimately we don't really know. But realistically, that's not a great deal in terms of the championship, in terms of a player that you'd consider a top-end championship player as well, like Lewis Travis is. But obviously, we're going to have to wait and see how that develops. I think it's going to be a very, very interesting one for Derby, because you're looking at probably £3 million for that. You look at a potential move for Johnston as well. You're looking at another £2 million for that. That's £5-ish million, not including wages. So Derby County are really putting their arse on the line this season, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we end up in a fairly decent position where we end up obviously not just staying in the division, but also pushing to the top end of the division, hopefully. But we're going to have to wait and see sort of how that all shakes out across the course of the next few weeks. It's going to be a very, very interesting end to this transfer window, and we're going to be keeping across it here on this YouTube channel. So if you have not done so already, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell. Maybe live later on today around 6 or 7 p.m. To discuss any potential transfers and things like that, and sort of give a full rundown of my thoughts from the pre-season game yesterday. Obviously, if you want to, hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so you get notified when I do go live. But if you have not done so already, let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll catch you in my next video.